Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ms. Skokin, and I am your child's geometry honors teacher this year. I wanted to give you a little bit of insight about our geometry honors class this year. We will be using a flipped classroom, and that means that the students will be watching and taking notes using a lesson video that I have recorded for their homework. And then the next day, they're going to come into class and work on the new skills using practice questions that I have designed and assigned. This is a proven research-based method of delivering lessons to students that is highly successful. It's not experimental. And the reason that it's so successful is because students are working on applying the new skills with the teacher in the room and with the teacher available to answer any questions that they may have. You may remember doing math homework back in high school when you were stuck on a problem and how frustrating it would be to not have anyone that you could ask for help with that problem, unless you maybe had a parent or an older sibling who was available. When students use the flipped classroom as it is designed, that frustration completely goes away. I have recorded lessons that are exactly aligned to the student guided notes that I have written and the students have downloaded onto their iPads. Students watch the lesson video that I have recorded for them, pausing to copy down the notes when needed. And this means that the most passive part of learning, the listening, watching, and note-taking, happens outside the classroom. They can pause or rewatch parts of the video because they're in control of the pace of the note-taking of the lesson. Then the more active parts of learning, where they're applying and they're learning how to integrate new ideas and previous knowledge, and learning how to integrate two new skills. That all happens in the classroom where they're able to collaborate with their peers and they're able to ask me, their teacher, questions. I can then be a true facilitator of learning. I have to say, I remember many times when I was in both high school and college taking a class when I wished I could pause the teacher or wished I could rewatch part of the lesson, but that didn't exist. Now we can do that for our young people. There is no expectations that parents or siblings or tutors are involved in any way in your child's learning. All students need to do outside of class is listen, watch, and take notes. I will help them the next day in class by going over the topic briefly, and then we will solidify the new skills during the time when students are working on practice problems in class. They will be able to work together and be able to ask me questions as they're working on applying the new vocabulary, new skills, and new knowledge. You may be wondering about what happens when a student has a question about something in the lesson. If the student is unsure of something in the recorded lesson, the only thing they need to do is draw a big question mark directly in their notes in Notability. And the next day in class, I'll be able to help them out with that specific question. At the beginning of the year, it always takes a little bit of getting used to for students who are unfamiliar with the flipped classroom format, and for parents who have never seen how successful it can be. Once students get into the rhythm of preparing for class by intentionally watching, listening, and taking notes outside of class from my lesson videos, and then working in class on practicing the new skills instead of the other way around, they will be well on their way to having a successful year in math class. I hope this answers some questions that you may have. And if you're interested, I can show you a short portion of one of the lesson videos so you can get an idea of what it's like. Welcome to geometry. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ms. Skokin. We are in chapter 1, Foundations for Geometry. We're going to be learning a lot of new vocabulary, and we're going to be very picky about what the geometric figures and their names and the notation are. So let's get started. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I know that you probably want to see what it's like when a student has a new skill that they're learning and how that's presented to them. So I'm going to kind of jump in about 4 minutes in. That goes forever and ever and ever in both directions. It has no thickness, so it has no width dimension, and it really has no length because it goes on forever. The way that we indicate a line is by naming it with a lowercase letter. So I know by now you might be having a little bit of geometry PTSD from when you were in high school, or if you enjoy geometry, maybe it's just a nice familiarity. But we will have an opportunity to meet soon at back to school night. And I'm hoping that this explains the flipped classroom and how it works, and also gives you an opportunity to have a little bit of insight into how you can support your student, making sure that every day they're watching the appropriate lesson video and intentionally listening and taking notes, and also identifying where they may have questions so I can help out the next day. That's it for now. See you soon. Thanks for listening.